Hi, Dani.
Hi, Heidi.
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm fine, really good. On our group poll, you mentioned look for the gifts in life, and I'd love to explore that with you for our listeners. So what does look for the gifts in life mean to you?
It's basically looking at your situations in life and seeking out the lessons, uh, people, events, experiences that you can be grateful for,
Wow.
especially when it's really hard
Okay.
or painful.
Now, I know you've had some hefty challenges to face. So can you give our listeners an example or two of things that have happened in your life?
So, for those listeners who don't know what happened, in September of 2017, my husband fell and we realized that he couldn't move his feet. He had no nerves working from the knees down. So that resulted in a slew of tests and procedures because they didn't know what it was. So we were dealing with the unknown. He was eventually diagnosed and treated for CIDP, but then they realized that he wasn't responding to treatment like he should be. And then in the spring of 2018, he started noticing he was losing feeling in his fingers and his arms. So then we were like, okay, this is not this. And the neurologist was like, you need to, and they had been trying to get him into different places. We eventually got into Hopkins, and he was diagnosed July of 2018 with POEM syndrome. So, which is a very rare, I mean, CIDP is rare, but POEM syndrome is rare as well. So from July to August, he started taking a really bad downward spiral health-wise. Like he was losing function, he was exhausted, and they were trying to get hip biopsies and bone biopsies. And then eventually he started taking radiation treatment. Now, Hopkins is in a different state than where we live. So during this time, we were living in two states. I homeschool the kids, but we were trying to keep it as normal for them as possible. So we were living in two states. His parents were helping. We had to take him the radiation treatment 5 days a week. And so I'd go to like 3 days a week with him, and then I'd take the kids back and forth. And we just, I mean, it was challenging, but we did it. And then when he first got diagnosed, we made a decision, and we said that whatever happened, we were going to find the gifts.
Okay.
We were going to find the gifts. We were going to find the blessings, because we knew your mindset, especially when you're sick, is so important and so valuable. And you know, they will tell you there's tests out there and that have been done that show having a positive mindset, especially when you're healing or going through something like cancer and you know, it's critical. It can make all the difference.
Yes.
And maybe you can get my husband on here one day if he's open, and he can tell you about his personal experience, because he has done his own methods for this as well. Okay. So it's just been, so when we looked at our situation, there are so many gifts. I mean, there are so many things that have happened as a result of
how'd you find the gifts in all of that?
yeah. It's like I mean, there have been so many, like the things that happened to us that would not have happened if he hadn't have been diagnosed, people that we have met, experiences as a result of him being diagnosed. I mean, we discovered the team at Hopkins is absolutely fabulous. Like the doctors there are incredible. The main gift has been, as a family, we have become so close. And my kids have learned coping skills for anxiety, because which actually helped when COVID hit. Because because I mean, that brought up a lot of anxiety, but my kids know how to deal with it. Yeah. We discovered how strong we all are. Like, there are things I have done and ways that I have shown up. Sorry about that. and ways that I have shown up that I never did before. And so I discovered, I love driving now. I used to hate driving, and anyone
I
who knows
remember
me,
you hating driving.
yes, I hated driving. My husband did all that. Well, I have been driving for the last 3 years and I love it now, much to his chagrin, because he made a comment and he's like, oh yeah, you know, I can't wait till I can drive again. I'm like, who said I'm gonna let you do this?
It's okay, you don't need to drive.
We're good. But it's like I love driving. I've really learned how to reframe our thoughts.
That's
We
such an important one, isn't it?
it is, because we could have seen this as, oh, this is horrible, or, you know, even when my husband was getting radiation treatment, he envisioned it as a healing light. You know, instead of it's killing off cancer, you know, for him it was like, this radiation is healing me. And he noticed a difference. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks into the radiation, which they were like, oh, usually you don't experience, but he was feeling better and getting like he could feel it had stopped the progression within 2 to 3 weeks of getting the radiation.
That's an interesting one I shall share with the girlfriend. She's about to start heavy duty chemotherapy and radiation just after Christmas. And that will be a brilliant gift to share with her.
Yeah. Imagine it's healing energy, white light. But just when you go in and affirm each time you go in that this is healing me, this is healing me, this is healing me.
Yeah.
So the other way we reframed thing is we changed our language, because like my kids do not like change. They don't even like we have to have a little transition process, because that can be a little anxious for them. So we declared that our trips between states were adventures.
Okay.
So it was like, oh, we're going on our adventure today. And we would stop, and we had these little stuffed animals. They would take pictures of the stuffed animals and send them to their father.
Okay.
So he could be a part of the trip. So we made it fun, you know, and we're like, oh yeah, we're going on our adventure today. And we changed our wording. Instead of saying we have to do something, it was, I get to do this. We get to travel home this weekend. We get to, you know, go see daddy, you know, we get to do this. So the reframing, you know, we chose to do it. So we really think about things and how we talk about them.
Yeah.
The other thing is, when he lost his feeling and his he couldn't do stuff. So I had to cut his hair and I had to help him bathe. And I've heard so many people be like, oh my God, you know, like I have to do so much stuff. Well, for me, because I didn't want to get that state of resentment, it became at every act, everything I did for him, even if it was getting up and getting him something across the room, became an expression of love.
Okay.
So that was another reframing, because I did not want to feel resentment. You know, when I'm overwhelmed and doing a lot, it's so easy to go down that path. And I was like, no, this is an expression of love. And so it enabled me to really care for him and actually deepen. So our relationship now is so much. It's just
so actually you turned what could have been seen as a chore into a pleasure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had to, because I was doing so much, and I knew if I didn't shift the mindset, I was going to wear out like big time. So and then we had some other unexpected gifts in this. We had a few dramatic incidents with some people in our lives. And you know, when people get sick, some people can't handle it and they'll fade out. If you don't have the energy to devote to certain relationships, they just end up fading out. And one of the incidents we had, they were dealing with their own personal struggles at the time. And the first time, the first time we dealt with one of these, I was sick for like a whole month. And then my husband's blood pressure went through the roof. So we spent a month feeling miserable, and it was just horrible. But we realized, because we had similar incidents happen, and we realized, okay, we don't want to feel this way. So then we started recognizing in these incidents that there was this sense of relief, which was a gift, because I'm like, why are we feeling relieved that we're no longer communicating with these people, or where's this relief coming from? And then I started realizing, like, some of these people would only call me when they wanted something.
Yes.
Or to dump their, pardon my French, crap, shit,
Rubbish.
rubbish.
Garbage.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
a good word. We'll go with rubbish, to dump their rubbish. So I started realizing this is not a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. So then I also realized they had completely unrealistic expectations of me. They didn't know who I was. They knew who I was in the past. They knew what other people had said about me, but they never bothered to get to know who I was or what I had to offer them. I mean, they weren't even able to see the gifts that I had offered them because they didn't meet their expectations. So when I realized that, it was like this freedom, just knowing that it doesn't matter what I do, they're still going to see me the way they see me. I could not change that, but I could change the way I responded. Yes. And then we also realized there was this pattern. So we grieved and we processed, because when someone leaves your life, it's a loss. So we grieved and we processed. We felt the sense of relief and the drama, reduced drama.
Yeah.
I got a return, and this was key. Recognizing my energy came back.
Okay.
Because it's like, oh wait, where was it? I was, I got like some of these that had happened. I got so much energy when the relationships weren't there anymore, and then I would just, and then I felt so thankful because I was like, oh, it's like the universe is showing me that this was a bad, this is not a healthy relationship. So then I was like, thank you for being able to see this and let this go. So we had the one person cut us off. Okay. No reason, no explanation, and I'm probably never gonna know, but being able to make peace with not knowing is so powerful. Because some people, it's like, oh, I got it, but I don't have to know anymore. And when I think of this person, I am so grateful because they gave me such this beautiful lesson, because I realized how much energy I was expending on them to help them through their problem and their crisis. And when they were gone, it's like, oh, wow, like my energy just boom, it just completely came back. And I would not have realized that if they hadn't left me.
Yes.
So I still, and I'm so grateful because I thought we had a really good friendship, but obviously something wasn't working. But I'm just so grateful they were in my life. And I still, to this day, like, I am filled with such love when I think about them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I don't need them, and I'm not sure I want them back in my life. So
yeah. And I can see that.
Go on and live your life. And I wish them, every time they cross my mind, and they do occasionally, like, I just wish them all the best.
Yeah.
Like, I hope their decision made them a better person, which that ties in with the reframing and the mindset thing.
So, as part of all of that, I was going to say to you, how did you manage to find a gift or gifts in the situation? You've mentioned many gifts, but how did you find them? What happened in here that made you go looking for gifts?
Well, I just didn't want, when you're dealing with a situation that is so, when you're dealing with something like cancer, or it's life-threatening, and you realize that you might lose this person or yourself, what are you going to do with your life? Like, how can you make the most of your life? And that's really what we were thinking about. Is we did not want to go down that dark rabbit hole of despair, which is so easy to do because there are good days and there are bad days.
Of course there are.
So for us, it was just really just looking at it and reframing. And I mean, there's kind of a technique that we use that I can go into as well, but it's like we Well, I can just talk about it. Just talk about like how we did it specifically. If
Yeah, we can pick that up towards the end. I was going to ask
Okay.
you. I looked up what gift means,
Mm-hmm.
and part of the definition says, and I'll read it because it's off the internet anyway. An item is not a gift if that item is already owned by the one to whom it is given. Are the gifts that the universe gives us ours already, or a gift because we needed to find it? What's your view on that?
I actually disagree with it,
Okay.
because some of the best gifts that I have ever received have been owned before given.
Okay.
So like books, hand-me-down clothes, card decks, mugs, and they were given and they carried that love, because that person, they were so well loved, and then they were given.
Yes.
And so to me, like, I think that, I just, with the gifts that were given, I think that it can belong to someone else and be given with love, or even without love, and still be a really good gift.
Sure.
So
going back to what you were saying, is there a simple technique that you can share for our listeners to be able to start finding the gifts in their own life? How did you do it?
well, the first thing I did was I took a really good look at the situation, and I asked, what can I control?
Yeah.
What did we learn from it? Did we grow? And how, if we did grow? And what are we grateful for? And when you're asking yourself what you can control, then you need to ask yourself, what can you let go of or learn to let go of when you can't? So there's that surrender process.
Yes.
And you need to learn, you need to be able to, and there's no really one way to, with the letting go, you need to, that's personal. You have to figure how that works best for you.
Yeah.
But if you can let go of the desire to control aspects, and especially the aspects you can't control, that just really frees you up as well.
Yeah.
So if you want, I can kind of take you through how we did it. So hubby gets diagnosed, and we knew that we could control our actions and our reactions.
Yeah.
To an extent. I mean, like when we first found out, we had to process a lot of grief and a lot of shock and everything.
I was going to say the emotion has to be processed.
Yes, you have to process the emotion. We set boundaries because we had like low energy, and so there were some things we were just like, no, we can't deal with this. And with the little dramas that I was referring to before, I mean, I had to tell some people, I cannot talk to you right now.
Yeah.
I do not have the energy to talk to you. I just, after what happened, no, you need to give me space.
Yeah.
And we made our family the priority, because
Yes.
we knew, like, our family, and before that, I would always do things for everyone else. And this time I was like, no, my family has to be the priority, because we didn't know what was going to happen. We couldn't control the outcome. So we hugged a lot because we could control what we did. So we hugged a lot, we snuggled a lot. We chose to be together as much as possible. We talked about, like, with the kids, and we weren't sure what road it was going to go to, but with the kids, we were like, okay, let's let's spend this time together. Let's say no to some activities so we have more time. And he was able to be, when he was getting the treatments, he was home a lot. So we had a lot of family time. He wasn't going to work every day.
Yeah.
We recognized that we needed to grieve and that we needed to process everything, because if you hold it and then it stews and then it comes back as like anger there were moments of anger, but it was like, okay, be angry, get it out, feel it, do just process it. Don't hold it in.
Yeah. Not wallowing in the emotion.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I recognized that I could choose to get frustrated every time I had to do something else that my husband used to do, or I could choose to make it into a practice of loving him.
Okay.
So that, so that is what we recognized we could control. And then what we learned a lot about his diagnosis, some of which was really scary.
Yeah, I bet.
It was really scary. We
I wish
learned.
I didn't know.
Yeah. I actually, when we were writing about it and sharing, we told people, you really may not want to go Google. And of course, everybody went and Googled it, and they're like, and I was like, I warned you.
Yeah, the
Don't look it
curiosity.
up. Yeah. I was like, don't. And I even told the kids, I'm like, please, for your own sanity, don't look this up. Like, because we don't know how it's going to end, and you're going to see all the possibilities that you really don't want to think about.
Yes, exactly.
So we learned we're all stronger than we thought. We learned how to ask for help, which makes you feel really vulnerable. And anyone who tells you that asking for help is a weakness, no. It takes a heck of a lot of strength to ask people for help. Courage,
even.
Oh yeah, courage, bravery, because it's so hard to ask for help.
Because you're admitting, you're almost admitting that you need help, and that's quite often a negative for so many people.
Well, I think people see it as a sign of weakness, but asking for help is giving up control in a sense, because you're saying, I can't do this on my own. I need you to be there for me. I need you to help me, which is an incredible amount of vulnerability in that.
That's where you find out who your friends are.
Bingo. You find out totally who your friends are. So let's see, we also learned how to better communicate, compassion. I have had to practice compassion, especially because I knew that a lot of the situations that we had been through, there was a lot of turmoil on the other side with people. And I didn't want to, I didn't want to get caught up in my own story. So I was like, okay, I understand where they're coming from. That doesn't give them permission to treat me a certain way.
No, quite right.
But
equally, of course, they might not be able to handle the situation, and that's equally okay.
Yeah, and that was, we had quite a few friends who were like, I'm sorry, but I can't handle this. I love you guys, but I really can't handle it.
That's their own fear, isn't it? Yeah.
A lot of fear. And it was like, it's okay, because it is a scary thing. I mean, we don't really want to be here, but here we are.
Yeah.
So that was really, challenging. But, and in a result of that, we learned how to reframe thoughts was the other thing. And then the question of how did we grow was, as a family unit, we became stronger. And we grew. All that I listed that we learned helped us to grow stronger as individuals. And as a person, like, I am not the same person I was a year ago, let alone 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I love who I am now. And I couldn't tell you that before this all started.
And would you have become the person you are now?
No. I would not be who I am if I didn't have to go through this. I had a couple of people tell me, one person in particular, they said, Dani, you surprised me. I didn't think you could do this.
There you go.
And I'm like, oh, well, look, I did it, you know, so, and I had a couple people say that, that they didn't think that I could do it, but I did it. And I not only did it, I grew from it and chose, I could have just done it and grumbled about it, but I didn't.
You could have become the victim.
Yeah, we did not want to become, that was another thing too. We were like, no, we're not going to be victims in this. We are going to, we're not doing the victim mentality thing. We're going to grow. And I almost want to talk my husband into doing a call with you, because he has changed so much.
I think we should. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then the final process in all of this, which, I mean, as I've been talking throughout this whole thing, is gratitude. Like, if you do nothing else, do nothing else but find things to be grateful for, you're already atop of the game. I'm so grateful that we're closer. I'm so grateful that we changed. We have learned we have amazing neighbors. We have two neighbors in particular who have just stepped up in ways like we couldn't even imagine, like that have, and I'm so grateful for that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm grateful I love driving now. I'm grateful for who I've become.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that my relationship, my marriage is so much stronger because, you know, stuff like this, it makes you or it breaks you.
Yes.
And we chose to be made even better from it.
Yeah.
We both of us have an entirely new appreciation for the other because we've both been in caregiving roles now.
Uh-huh.
Because he had to care for me when I a couple years ago when I had some back issues, and so we both know. So we had this whole new understanding that we would not have had.
Yes.
And we actually got quite a few opportunities that popped up as a result of his diagnosis that would not have been available to us if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then finally, like the people in our lives who have stepped up for us, the people that I've met on this journey, like you and the others, like, yeah, like I'm so grateful because if we hadn't been on this journey, I don't know if I would have taken the actions that would have led to like meeting you or meeting the other sisters. Yes. Or, you know, or being
taking you on the journey you're on now.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so
it can show satori moments, isn't it? On everything you look back and think that was tough, it's taken you onto something bigger and better.
Yeah. It's and when you are dealing with, when you get hit hard with something like that turns your world topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
If you can look for the gifts, if you can find, if you do nothing else, like if you ask none of the other questions, but look for things to be grateful for, even if it's like, I got out of bed this morning.
Exactly.
You know, my husband, as he's recovering his nerves, every millimeter, he can play bananagrams now and flip the tiles. He could not do that a year ago. He had trouble with that, let alone 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, he can, so every little thing, even though he's not where he wants to be, he'd like to be a little bit further.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
but
yet.
Not yet. But every little thing that he does, we celebrate.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, he's cooking in the kitchen now, isn't he?
Yeah, hey. He's cooking. Oh, thank goodness he's cooking. Yes. That was
Health
now
and
the
Fitness
cooking
channel. We'll be doing that one next time.
So it's funny story about the cooking. I was like, I'm going to reframe my mindset and love cooking. I don't love cooking. Okay. I don't like cooking. I tried. I really, really tried. I did. I don't like it. But I cooked and I fed my family, and we had blessed friends and family that brought us food during like the really hard times. We had one friend, whenever we drive back and forth, she took into consideration all of the allergies that my daughter had and made recipes that she could try. Okay. And that's hard because you know how many allergies my little one has.
Yeah.
And she would make us a meal that lasted like 2 to 3 days. Yeah. So when I was driving back and forth and I came back here, I would pick up they'd bring I'd get the food, and then I'd have food to eat while I was here. I didn't have to worry about cooking or groceries. I had friends who were like, okay, what groceries do you need that I can bring you while you're in town? And, you know, like, I'm so grateful because these people did not have to do this, but they, you know, they did. Yeah. And they wouldn't have done it if I wasn't in the situation. So.
No, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So
brilliant.
There you
it's
go.
Been really lovely talking to you. I think the two key messages that come out to me at the end of that is reframe your thoughts, which funnily enough is one of the toolkits that you know is in my tools in my toolkit. So I'll be talking about that at some point. And gratitude. Yeah. Gratitude for everything and anything. Yeah.
Those two things are like, they're so key, you know. They really take you farther in life.
Yeah, life-changing.
Totally life-changing. Yeah. If you can reframe and if you can focus on the gratitude, you're going to go far. And you're going to get through, you know, because Yeah, whatever it is, because like life happens, and we've talked about this before, you know, what is good, what is bad.
Good thing, bad thing, who
Good thing,
knows?
yeah, good thing, bad thing,
Squeaky
who knows?
morale. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Good thing, bad thing, who knows? It might
exactly,
feel bad at the
exactly.
time, but something good comes out of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been lovely talking to you.
Oh, thank you so
As
much for having
always.
me on.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing the gifts.
You are very welcome.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.